Holly, are you as fired up as we are here in Tuscaloosa for this game?
I am so fired up. So we did this game, I guess it was 2 years ago when LSU got the upset win and fans rushed the field. And I'm expecting every bit as much electricity, excitement. I do think this is an LSU team that's, they're banged up. They're trying to find ways to win. So they're a little desperate. I think some of our colleagues are calling this an elimination game. The Alabama players I've talked to have said they cannot lose. They've already lost twice and they cannot afford another loss. So I think that kind of the sense of urgency is making this even more heightened.
We're certainly excited for what's coming up on Saturday. Just how much do you love matchups like this and the atmosphere we're going to be in down in Baton Rouge? You've done everything pretty much in your career, but where is this really a separator? Is this where college football shines the most?
I mean, Alabama, LSU, I think it's kind of a life changing game. What the team's lives and fortunes change. So many national championship runs have been decided on this game. I was just listening to a podcast with Jacob Hester, the great fullback, running back from LSU that won a national championship. And he was describing this play where his quarterback threw a pick and he ends up chasing down a DB. I just want to paint that picture. A fullback big 230 chasing down a DB to save a touchdown. And that saving that touchdown allows them to go on and win the national championship that year. So like these games come down to these minute moments over time. I never will forget the game again where AJ McCarron is in tears after the game because he had felt the weight of the world on his shoulders to finally beat LSU after he had performed in previous meetings. So, I mean, this game just feels different. It just feels like the heavyweight battle. And it comes down to these little tiny things that really change the fortune for both teams.
What are some other Alabama storylines you're following as you get ready for Saturday?
Yeah, so one of the storylines that I'm really following is how this defense is growing and improving week to week. It's a different defense. It's a new system. It's a new style. And I'm sure fans feel some kind of way about that. But as I'm talking to some of the guys, one of the players that I don't feel like is getting a lot of national publicity that I'm obsessed with is Jahad Campbell. So he is, I think, one of the most interesting players in college football. He can play all four positions. I talked to him yesterday actually to get some notes for the game. And he described himself as a Swiss Army knife. And he was so cute. He's like, you know what a Swiss Army knife is? And I said, yes. It means you have, we can pull out lots of different gadgets and you'll be able to perform in lots of different ways. And he really prides himself on knowing every position. They use him a lot in a lot of different ways. And, one of the things I was thinking about as we were having this conversation is you look at what LSU was trying to do with Harold Perkins the last couple of years, like not exactly knowing where and how to play him to really maximize his skill set. And while I'm not really comparing those two players, what I am saying is that should point out to you how versatile and how smart and how intriguing it is the way they do employ Jahad because he can play all over the field. So that's one storyline. He had a great comment. I thought this was a great quote from him. We're going into Baton Rouge with violent intentions. I feel like there's this urgency. This is a business trip. All of these players I've spoken to this week, I've talked to 5 players, and it is like, urgency, business trip. Season depends on it. So I do think their sense of urgency is heightened. And then, we just keep trying to look for new storylines. It's hard to uncover things that haven't already been told. One of the things I did this week that was so cute, Jalen Milroe has, his Link kind of podcast series or interview series that he's doing. Let a naysayer know, wink, wink. And he did an interview with Ryan Williams, and they talked about the first time they met and the first time they were able to connect. And they told this really cute story about Jalen jumped in Ryan's TikTok and did something fun in a TikTok when he first got there. And then later at practice that week, he threw him a long deep ball. And Ryan's like, I called my mama and I was like, Mama, I think he likes me. I think we're good. Just that he could forge this connection and this relationship. And, they talked about how funny it is that like 4 + 2 = 6 is their new math that they're doing. Of course, Jalen's number 4, Ryan's number 2, and that equals a touchdown 9 times out of 10. So I'm just like, you watch all this different stuff. You try to glean all these different storylines and what can we actually present, what actually, comes to fruition in the game that then we can tell viewers about.
We certainly look forward to that. And for you, you've covered Alabama football through the years. The one coach you interview, Nick Saban. Now, he, of course, is one of your teammates with the ESPN family and networks. And you get to interview someone you've known before in Kalen DeBoer. Just how have you seen this coaching transition from Coach Saban to Coach DeBoer?
I think it's fascinating because that you really could not find two different people as far as personalities go, but they are two really good ball coaches, right? So I think it's interesting. I've been curious, and you'll have to tell me this. I'm hoping that, listen, I know how the Alabama fan base can be. This is a fan base that, let's be honest, I'm saying this in all positive way. They're spoiled. They have had the greatest coach of all time coaching them for the last 17 years. And, like they are spoiled by what they've been able to have under Nick Saban. And they've got to be patient. There were so many changes with this roster. There's so many changes with the scheme, personnel. I really hope that the fan base is being patient because these are two very different coaches. But the turnover internally with the roster, I think people need to really understand that's a lot. I mean, that is really a lot. So Kalen DeBoer is like maybe one of my favorite people I've ever met in college football. We got to do 6 Washington games last year. So I got to know him so well, see him in action, see how he treated his players. And I'm just telling you, I love this guy. So Alabama faithful, I'm just telling you, if you give him the patience and the time and space he deserves, you're going to be happy with the results. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but that's my take on that.
That's certainly good. Of course, we've enjoyed this partnership between the SEC and ESPN and ABC, getting to air all these games. I know people have just loved being camped out on their couch for great games in a row on ABC. Just for you, how much fun is it get back to having the SEC as part of your college football schedule?
Well, I really love it because I have been covering the SEC since I think 1997 was maybe my first game in the conference. So when I say I go way back, like OG SEC, and so we've gotten to see the growth, the changes, the coaching changes, the great players, the legacy moments. We've gotten to see all of that in some respects, except for that big game, that CBS had every week. And so selfishly, this is super selfish, but for me, I'm like, oh, we finally get the best game. And, 9 times out of 10, it is the best game of the week in college football, the entire landscape, what's happening in the SEC. So I feel really lucky. I've been covering the league for such a long time. I'm bad at math, but 97 till now, that's like 25 years or something crazy. But I think that it's really been worth the wait, and I'm just thrilled.
Well, you guys are putting on a great show each and every week, and now we look forward to you putting on Alabama against LSU this Saturday. Just Holly, thank you so much for all the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We look forward to seeing you down in Baton Rouge. Roll Tide.
Always happy to help. Love to see you guys and love covering Alabama football. So thank you for having me.